So when you are sitting in your shitty nursing home and you're sucking down on your Jell-O night after night for the rest of your life, you think of me.
Some men survive by picking a side. Nacho thought he could survive by picking both, and that wasn't strategy. That was the lie that shaped his whole life and guaranteed how it would end. Most people think Nacho was just a good guy caught in the wrong world, but that's not it. I'm Dr. Patrick Kingsep, clinical psychologist, and today we're looking into Nacho's mind and why the story was already over before the first bullet was ever fired. Nacho wasn't chasing power. He wasn't trying to climb the ladder like the Salamancas. He just wanted to survive, to keep his dad safe, and maybe, if he was smart enough, to find a way out for both of them.
Puedo descansar aquí por un ratito.
But for Nacho, survival had a deeper meaning. It meant finding a way to live without becoming the kind of man he hated.
Oh, come on, come on. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's where the dangerous idea took hold. He told himself he could walk a line no one else could even try, would even try. Stay loyal enough to be useful, but moral enough to stay human. He thought he could protect his dad without turning on the cartel.
You're a client, this is a consultation, and everything you just told me is privileged.
You rat, you die.
And that, too.
Earn Gus Fring's trust without becoming a pawn? Keep his conscience while making choices that tore it apart.
My father has nothing to do with this, okay?
And this wasn't just some strategy he came up with. This was who he was. He locked onto that idea early, a concept called identity foreclosure, which is deciding who you are too soon and clinging to it, believing it'll keep you safe when things get messy. He believed he could balance loyalty and integrity and could survive the violence without becoming part of it. But here's the problem. When you lock yourself into that kind of identity, you stop adapting. Every choice becomes about protecting that version of yourself, even when the world is telling you it's not going to work anymore. Every time Nacho tried to protect both sides of his belief, it forced him into bigger risks. But letting go of that belief, that would mean admitting that survival might mean full loyalty to a brutal world. And he couldn't face that. But the cracks in his logic didn't start with the cartel or with Gus. They started with someone who wasn't playing by his rules and never would.
¿Y cuándo va a terminar esto para ti?
En eso ando trabajando.
Nacho's father wasn't just someone he loved. He was the kind of man who never changed. Manuel believed honesty and dignity and hard work would always be enough.
Siempre pensé que el taller sería tuyo.
Vas a trabajar 11 horas al día por el resto de tu vida.
No matter how violent the world got, if you stood your ground, you could keep your soul and maybe even your life.
Gotta make it look real.
But Nacho knew better. The world had changed. In the cartel, integrity didn't protect you. It painted a target on your back. Most people think Nacho was trying to keep his dad alive, but it was more than that. He was trying to protect what his dad believed in.
You coming here threatening my family?
I'm not here to threaten your family. You don't play ball, so to speak, and Tuco finds out about your little side business.
His values, Nacho's values. And he wasn't just shielding his dad from the cartel. He was shielding him from the truth, as his father's principles were now a liability.
Finalmente, te podrías jubilar.
Fuiste tú, ¿verdad?
If he walked away from his father's values, he'd lose the last piece of himself that still believed in something good. But if he lived by his father's values, he'd get them both killed.
Ya te dije lo que tienes que hacer. Deja esto. Entrégate a la policía. Enfrenta lo que has hecho.
So Nacho tried to balance the two, not just people, but two realities. This turned Nacho into a negotiator between two worlds that couldn't be negotiated with.
I like ripping off thieves because they can't go to the cops. They have no recourse. You point me at where they have their cash, I'll pay you.
And while he was still trying to hold those two worlds apart, the Salamancas and Gus Fring had already decided what happens to anyone who refuses to fully commit. For the Salamancas, loyalty wasn't something you earned. It was something you proved over and over again. You followed orders. You didn't question them. That's how you stayed alive. Gus acted like he gave people choices, like loyalty wasn't personal, just business. But it was the same thing in the end.
Bolsa will want to hear the truth from you before the Salamancas have you. Their methods take too long for his taste.
You either committed fully or you were seen as a risk.
I know what you've done. The Salamancas, they do not.
Nacho thought he could work both sides, stay useful to each of them, keep everyone satisfied enough to leave him alone.
Whatever bullshit way you want the story to go, I will make it go. But I need one thing. My dad. I need to know that he'll be safe.
But usefulness doesn't buy trust or safety. Not with men like Gus or Hector. As soon as either side saw that he wasn't fully theirs, usefulness would stop mattering. By staying in the middle, Nacho didn't just make himself a risk. He reminded both sides of something they couldn't tolerate, the idea that someone could defy their control and still survive.
Every man we have is searching for him. When Varga's found, we'll know who he was working for.
So what made Nacho's situation spiral was how he doubled down on his balancing act, even when it was failing. Escalation of commitment. That's when you keep investing in a losing strategy because you've already put so much into it. Nacho's early moves, like manipulating Tuco to protect his dad's business, were just enough to convince him he could keep playing both sides.
You think you'd be here now I kept my mouth shut?
And I appreciate that. I owe you. And if you're ever in trouble, God forbid, legal trouble, I will be there.
But each success pulled him deeper, and swapping Hector's pills to weaken the Salamancas seemed like a way out, but it tied him to Gus. Feeding Gus secrets about Lalo bought him time, but it made Lalo suspicious.
If there's no money in those debt drops, Lalo will know someone talked.
Every step was a bigger bet on a plan that was crumbling. So have you ever kept pushing forward with a choice, even when you knew it wasn't working, just because you'd already invested so much? That's what trapped Nacho. By the time he faced his final moments against the Salamancas, it wasn't just defiance. It was the end of a path he'd been locked into by every choice that came before. He wasn't just fighting the cartel. He was fighting the weight of his own decisions. Nacho's story didn't end with his death. It ended the moment he realized the lie he'd lived by, trying to walk the line.
Ya hemos hablado de esto muchas veces. ¿Sabes lo que tienes que hacer? A la policía.
Sí, papá. Te entiendo.
But instead of collapsing under that truth, he did something extraordinary. He rewrote the ending. When most people are cornered, they fight, they flight, they freeze, they appease, they obey.
From now on, you are mine.
Nacho did none of those.
Today you are going to die. But there are good deaths and there are bad deaths. Tell me what I need to know. I'll see that your death is a good one.
He used his final moments not to escape, but to take back control of a story everyone else had been writing for him. Gus wanted to use him. The Salamancas wanted to punish him. Both thought they could define him by fear or force.
Who put you up to this? One last chance. Who?
But Nacho flipped the script. He chose when and how it would end.
They paid me to set up your nephew, and I did.
That wasn't survival. That was authorship. And authorship is powerful. It means you refuse to be edited out of your own life, even if the final chapter is the one that costs you everything. That's what legacy looked like for Nacho. Not glory, not being remembered as a hero, but protecting his father in a way that would stick. Creating a moment no one could rewrite, they could spin, or even erase. A moment that said, I saw what this world was, and I got the last word. Even Mike saw it.
It's me.
Yeah.
You knew. You knew that I was going to Mexico to die, that I was never supposed to make it out of that motel.
In that quiet drink before the end, there's a weight, a respect for a man who took the chaos around him and turned it into something deliberate. And that's what makes Nacho's death more than tragic. It's meaningful, because in a world built to crush you into silence, he spoke clearly, decisively on his own terms.
I would have done it for free because I hate every last one of you psycho sacks of shit. I opened Lalo's gate.
He didn't just escape. He ended the lie, and he did it loudly enough that people who thought they owned him had to live with the echo. So ask yourself, when everything feels beyond your control, what would it look like to reclaim authorship over your own story?